Hey, what's up? Jun here from Coding Quick Tips. Today was maybe the last video about Slick2D. As you may have noticed, Slick2D is lately a bit, I would call it a bit dying because it gets more and more inactive and it's not developed anymore, so yeah. But I still want to give you at least one video that I plan to do. It's a video about a whole game that I will show you right now and that I want you to rebuild as in training. I will provide the full source code, and in the following I will go step by step through the game and give you more and more hints how to build it, and so you can just watch the video as long as you think, as you need help. And if you think, hey, I can build up my own, then just stop the video and build the game as you would do if you would just want to build the game. And then you can come and check out my source code. If you need some help, you can come back and check out the video if you need some further descriptions about what you should build and how it's structured. And yes, that's it that's it basically. As you can see, I built up a really basic card shooter style game. You have basically a player that can move around and can shoot bullets. That's a blue thing here, and they spawn randomly enemies that try to shoot you, and you must get as much from them as you can, and then you will get a score, which won't work. Give me a sec, I'll pause the video. I think I just changed something while I commented the whole. Okay, so here I am again. I just commented out the score method because I added some comments to let you read the code a bit more easily. And I'll just drag that game in the middle so you can see it properly. So you're the spaceship or the player, and you can shoot enemies. And one thing is, you can just now say, hey, I want to build this, that's no problem, and close the video and try to build that, and I would love to see everything that you build. So if you build something, let me know in the comments, make a video answer. I'm really looking forward to your projects. And if you say, hey, no, I don't know how I should start this, then keep on watching and I will give you some hints how to do that. So to start off, we have basically one main game in which we have one player and a list full of enemies, and the players can shoot and the enemies can shoot. So the players and the enemies both inherit from one soldier class that can shoot bullets at specific positions, and through that we can achieve a lot better code. So if we jump into it, we have our main class to start off. That should be quite clear. In that main class, we just create a new game inside of Unscalable. The scalable isn't such important. You can just change the window size here without actually changing game code. And if we then go into the main game, it's the same as always. I just have added a basic slick game. And that's what you should always do if you start your game. You add a basic slick game. And then I used the scenes manager out of a previous tutorial, and I init that and update and render that. Through that I can create an actually game class. That is here. And that game class contains all the game code. But before I go deep into the code, I just want to show you the class hierarchy, because maybe you just need that to start it off. So basically we got a soldier that can shoot bullet objects. Those bullet objects are held in an array, as I showed you in a previous tutorial. And we also got an enemy bullet that inherits from bullet, and is just a red bullet that is shot by enemies and that has some random values in it to make it a bit more fun the game. Then we have the soldier class that is capable of actually shooting bullets to specific positions, and it can check collisions, and it can be either alive or dead, and it has a specific amount of lives. And every time we update, I actually check collisions between all bullets and all soldiers, and then remove lives if you get hit by a bullet. Okay. Since the player and the enemy both inherit from soldiers, because the player and the enemies are both a soldier basically. They can shoot, they can move around, and they can lose lives. So I just got the basic soldier that can do the shooting stuff. That is quite the same as in the video tutorial about how to shoot bullets, part 2. And then I just inherit the player and the enemy from that, and the player gets some extra controls and can actually shoot with the mouse. So if you click somewhere, it will shoot at a specific fire rate, and the enemy just moves straight forward to the player. So it has a player object in the constructor and saves that, so it can constantly move to the player and attack it with shots at the player, and the enemy will just shoot at a given fire rate. Yep. So those are all the objects that you will need for this game. And then in the minigame scene, I actually just have one player object and a list of enemy objects. The list of enemy objects can be compared with the list of bullets that I showed in the How to Shoot Bullets Part 3 video, I think. Yep. And then I just update and render them all, and through that you can have a basic movement, and the enemies can actually move towards the player, because that is implemented in the enemies and in the player's code. Therefore you get a really clean code. And then if we are in the minigame, we basically check the collision, we basically iterate through all enemies, and then check the collisions with the player. So every enemy has a bullet array, and then we check all bullets from the array with the player, so we can detect if he gets hit and like he loses lives. Then we do it the other way around, so every enemy gets checked with the player bullets, so we can actually detect hits from the player bullets to the enemies, and then add some things like score or something. I also constantly make the game harder and give the player more points, so you may have noticed the multiplicator that gets bigger and bigger as long as you survive, and it gets bigger if you kill actually enemies, and you will get more points the bigger your multiplicator is. So yeah, it's basically good to survive long, and the enemy spawn rate will actually grow bigger as longer you survive and as more enemies you kill. Yep. Okay, and if the player dies, we basically remove him and add a game over screen, and inside game over screen I can quickly show you that we have just game over thing, click R to restart, and if we click R, we remove the game over screen, we remove the game screen, and we add a new game screen. So we have a fresh game screen and a new game. So let's jump into the actually game, because I think that's the most interesting thing. So we have basically a spawn chance. Then lower the spawn chance is, then more enemies will spawn. We have a random object to randomize our enemy spawns, and we have some score variables, and the most important things, the player variable and the list of enemies. So you notice the list of enemies is just like with the bullets, it's just filled with enemies. If we go into the render method, you will see that thing. I clear the screen with a bit transparent black, and that causes that cool effect here, that sliding effect. And if you take a look at the constructor, I said that Slick won't actually remove what it has rendered in the previous frame, so it won't clear, and therefore we can get this cool effect. Then we just render the player, render the enemies, nothing special, and we display our scores. That's also some basic things, so nothing special really. And if we go on to the update, here it gets a bit more interesting. We update the player, so we get all the movement stuff from the player. And then we iterate through the actually enemies, like we learned in this third bullet tutorial. So we iterate through them, we update them all, And if a player is not alive, so and soldier has actually an is alive method, and if he's not alive, we will add some score to the player because he has killed the enemy, and we will remove that. The second thing here is I'll remove a player if he's too close. Remove an enemy if he's too close to the player, because at the end the enemies will continue spawning to get a cool looking thing, and otherwise it would just get too much enemies. And then here comes a nice and handy thing. We call and place check collisions method that is actually implemented in the soldier. It can check collisions with a list of bullets or with an array of bullets, and we do that with the player to the enemy, so the player can get hit by that enemy, and the other way around, so the enemy can get hit by the player. Therefore, we got our collision detection in our subclasses, in our player and soldier classes, and that makes our code much cleaner. Then I set an like the lowest possible spawn chance, so the enemies won't spawn too fast. Then we got a little random that will just randomize if a player should spawn, and if we want that, we create a new player at a random position, init that player, init that enemy, and add that enemy to our enemies list. Quite obvious. So if our player is not alive anymore, I will extremely high the spawn rate because that makes a cool end effect, so that's only aesthetical. And if the player is not dead, we will actually add some time, so we get the time right, and we will increase the multiplier. If we go on, at the beginning we just init our player and our random object, which should be quite clear, and we have a list with enemies. So the interesting thing is the soldier is basically the things that we had with the bullet shoot. We have a position, we have the delta and the delay for the bullet shooting, we have the bullets and the current for the bullet shooting, we have a radius from the actually soldier for the collision detection, or the radius square to save some computing power. We have how many lives this soldier has left, and if the soldier is alive. In the inlet we just give a position and the maximum bullets that the player will have. That's just a fun error. Max bullets must be here. Should work. Yep. Okay. Damn error from me, but that's okay. We init the things like we did in the bullet tutorial. We render the bullets, we update the bullets, and we got a fire bullet method that will fire a bullet to a specific position. So it will get the direction with set here, the direction to this position. We will normalize it to a vector of the size 1, and then create a new bullet, and that bullet will be initted with our position as the starting position and the vector as the direction, and then we add it to the bullet list. So that's basically our bullet shooting thing that we had in the previous video. This firing bullet method in the base class just saves some code. If we go on, we got the get bullets method for the collision detection, we got a get position method, and we got the check collisions. That's a bit interesting. It just takes another bullet array that we get, for example, from the player or from the enemies, as we have seen in the main game class here. So there we go. And then we just say if we got the circle collision, so I do that with vector calculation a bit shorter than in my previous videos. And if the bullet hits the soldier, we will say the bullet is deleted, so it's not active anymore. We subtract the damage from the bullet from our lives, so that we will actually die. And if we got less than 1 life and we are alive, we call the die method, so therefore we know, hey, we died just. And in the die method we can then do fancy things like adding the game over screen or something. And we got an is alive method for the removing out of the list here. Okay, the player is then quite easy, I must say. It extends from the soldier, And the only thing we must add, we do in the render method, we call the super for rendering the bullets, and we render our own player. And in the update methods, we just call the super, add a method, so if the button is down and the delta is bigger than the delay, so we can shoot. If the mouse button is down, we will call the fire bullet method with the position of our mouse, so it will undo that. It will basically fire a bullet to that position. We give an empty bullet because I got two different bullet types, and so the firing bullet method can handle both bullet types. Then we have the basic movement control, that's easy. If we die, we add a game over screen, quite obvious, and we set alive to false. Therefore was the die method, and in the init we just set the lives to 10 and our radius to a good radius that makes it playable. And of course we call the super. Then the enemy is also quite easy again, because it got a delay, sets the time between the shots, and then we got a player here in the enemy, because we must know where we want to go, so the render method is the same as with our player. And then in our update method we just move towards the player, so we add a position that is in the direction of the player to our position. And then if the delta is bigger than the delay, we just shoot an enemy bullet object at our player, so yes, enemies will actually shoot at our player. And in the init some random stuff to make our enemies a bit more random. It's always good to have some random things in your games, I think. The bullet is exactly the same as I had in our video tutorials. The only thing I added is max lifetime, and I think and collide with other squared radius method. So that's basically the bullet collision, was the circle collision. So we got two radiuses and we check the distances between the positions. So that should be all clear, I think. The enemy bullet is exactly the same, it inherits, and it just draws a bit different, and it has some random things in its lifetime and in its movement speed. And if we put all this together, we get our lovely little game. So that's it for my Slick 2D videos. I really hope you enjoyed the series, and I still think Slick 2D is a good framework or a good engine to go if you're a beginner and if you want to start with the whole thing as game development, because it's just fun, I think. And as I told you before, I would really love to see some example games from you that you send in, and I will put the whole source code in the description. I will put a project download in the description, so you can just download it and get it. And as always, I hope you enjoyed. And I want to mention, I still will see you next time, because I will make a new video tutorial series about the libgd extension, and I will try to keep it as slick-like as possible, so as easy as possible. And the libgd extension offers even a lot more than the Slick engine, so you can look forward to that. It will be a lot of fun for you and for me too, I think. Yeah, and that, now it's really the end of the video. And as always, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.